This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast, episode 347. We're up to the final film of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original trilogy. We're up to the Return of the King from 2003. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Netflix Review.
All right, Nate, let me know, what was your, how many times you saw this in the theater?
One. I saw this once at the theater. Yep. And then I saw it once on DVD back in like 2003 or 2004. I don't know. My uncle had it and he was playing it at his house, and I didn't even watch the whole thing. I watched like an hour of it. So this was basically my second full view, and it was my first of the extended edition.
Well, this is my second of the extended, but it was ages ago. Like this one, when they came out with the Blu-ray set. Remember that big, thick Blu-ray edition of it? That's one of the last time I seen it. I didn't see that. I saw this in the theater one time. But the funny thing is like out of all the three that we seen, Two Towers is the one that I seen the most of. Whereas I know yours was the first one, Fellowship of the Ring. So it's kind of weird, right? Like in terms of that. And I guess it's because of the Battles of Helm's Deep.
Yeah, this one seems to be the least rewatched for most people.
Yeah. And I think I know why. Watching this damn movie,
freaking like 12 Academy Awards. This one like cleaned up at the at the Oscars. It won all.
Yeah, the final one. Yeah. All right. Well, let's check out the financials, because this is the final one. Well, everyone thought it was in the final Lord of the Rings film, right? So for the last movie, $94 million budget, which we talked about last time. They split up $300+ million amongst three films. It grossed $1.1 billion at the box office. Now, we did so many franchise in this podcast. We did so much. And I gotta say, this has to be the most profitable budget to cashing in that we ever seen in terms of three films.
I think you're right. If you look at it, a budget, we'll call it what, 90, 180, 270. Let's call it 295 million budget. Pretty much across three movies, $295 million, and combined nearly $3 billion profit. I mean, that's 10 times. They've made 10 times what they spent on each movie individually and, as a whole. I can't remember another series that we've done where each movie made 10 times its budget. I don't think there is one. And yeah, there's only three. But even any of the trilogies we've done, I don't think any of them made 10x their budget.
Yeah, and another thing I would like to say is, besides that, this should show studios you really don't need close to $200 million to do one movie. I mean, Peter Jackson just laid it out for you. $94 million for three film arc, and generated way more than I bet what they even dreamed of, right? And this is a book to movie property, right? So, and I know a lot of studios are going to have like that scare factor when you're trying to grab something new and fresh and bring it out to the audience. Like, can we do a movie for $90 million and the audience gravitate to it? Well, I think you could.
Absolutely. If you have creative people, making your movie and good storytellers, then yeah, I could 1,000,000% you will be able to put people in the seats. By the way, the combined budget for the three films was $281 million total. 281 for three, but Captain Marvel cost 250 for one, or the sequel, The Marvel. This was three freaking like 10 hours worth of movie, and the total between the three was 2.988 billion. So it was 10 times what they spent.
And it was funny because there was a quote from Mel Gibson years ago that said, if you give him less than $50 million budget, that he could give you a highly successful superhero movie. He was like, you really don't need a high budget thing. And I'm like, if Mel Gibson could tell you that, I'm like, I want to see a Mel Gibson movie superhero because I think it would look awesome. But that tells you that he's like, you know what? You're putting way too much money into these films that you really don't need to.
Give him $40 million and The Punisher and see what happens.
Oh, dude, Mel Gibson Punisher could be a pretty good idea. Yeah, that would be or Wolverine. He'll be a pretty good director for Wolverine.
Give him 50 million. That thing will make way more than that.
That actually pretty be a good idea. Mel Gibson directs a Punisher movie. Oh, that is really good. Let's check out what the critics and audience have to say about this film.
All right, now this was really weird. One of these scores is really weird to me. The critic score was 94%. This is actually 1% lower than the first two movies. Each of the first two had a 95. This one had a 94. That's not that weird to me. What's weird is the audience score, and this may speak to what we just talked about. The audience score is still an 86, which is very high. but that's 9% lower than the last movie. Both Fellowship and Two Towers had a higher audience score than this one. So I'm wondering if those two are just, they're more popular, they're more rewatched. And this third one is, still these are great numbers and it made the most money, but maybe it's like the least popular of the three.
Well, look, I'm looking at it here because I wrote it down. That's very interesting. Like this had the most action out of all three.
Yeah.
Right? But the extended cut, it was mad talking and journey walking. And
I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting discussion because I didn't watching the two disc back to back. I will say this. I really enjoyed the watch through.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I was bored. I'm not going to say it was horrible. I mean, I was kind of bored in Two Towers with the trees, but and certain things with Frodo and all that crap. But at the end of everything, I kind of enjoyed the journey. I was like, yes, from beginning to end, it worked very well. I was like, this was very great storytelling at its finest. Yeah. But when it comes to movies, individual, there's a lot of dislikes that I have in this movie compared to the positive. So let's get right into it with some lead characters, right? We got for the final time, older Aragorn, for those of you, because I call him Aragon. Aragorn for Rev and all of them.
Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf, the little guys, Sam, Frodo. The same. It's all the same people. You got all the same people here. Now, I gave a 5 in both of the first two movies. I'm going to go with a 5 still. I think they're still great. Now, this one made me the most where I might have been like, I'm thinking about giving it a 4. And there's one reason. One reason only. His name is Frodo. Now, you already were kind of on his case in the first two movies where you're like, I don't like this guy. But this is the one where he was the most annoying. Where I was like, come on, bro. Honestly, here's what I don't like. And it started in the second movie, but it really was heavy in this movie. And it's this weird desire he has to trust Smeagol over his own friend who he's known for his whole life and who's going on this trip with him. And I understand the ring is warping kind of his mind and stuff like that. But even still, there's you're telling me you're going to trust this little creature who clearly wants to get that thing from you over your buddy who you've known for your whole life. And he's telling you bro, I heard him say he wants to take the ring. And you don't believe him. But then Smeagol's he wants to take it for himself. And you're just going to believe him. It was pissing me off. It was pissing me off in this movie and then Sam saves him, okay? Saves him, proves himself loyal every time, okay? Saves him from the spider, from the other guy. It does all this stuff. And what happens at the end? Smeagol bites his finger off. Still take, yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get. So the reason I still gave it a 5 is to counter that. I thought Sam was great in this movie. He went from pretty good to great. So Frodo's descent into annoying was balanced out by Sam's descent or ascent into greatness. And so I still gave it a 5. And the other guys are still, Legolas and Gimli are still counting who they kill. I love the part when Legolas is on the elephant thing and he's 34, 35, and he's shooting them with arrows.
Cool. Yeah.
And I like at the end where he's I never thought I would die next to an elf. And he's what about next to a friend? And Gimli's I could do that. I loved it. It was great. I still gave it a 5.
Yeah, look, dude, I'll say this again, bro. I was going to give it a 4. I was there with you. Frodo was annoying for me from Two Towers. I already told you that. He was super annoying in this one. And I agree. Everything you said, totally agree with you. Smeagol, I did enjoy a little bit more this time because I thought he was more funnier. He was stupid fat hobbit. I started laughing. I was okay, he gave more comedic parts.
He's a villain. He's pretty much a villain in this movie. Full on
he's a villain in this one. Yeah. Sam, I agree with you. They gave him more of a story, which I was happy because I totally forgot that he became more we got to get your ass into this mountain, brother. I'm done with this shit. I want to bone the chick that I want to go back to the Shire, have some kids. So I was all right, that is cool. They gave him a heroic arc. We're going to take it away from Frodo and give it to Sam. And I liked it. I thought it worked very well, the blending of that. I fucking hate Gandalf, bro. And I'm going to say this to the final movie, bro. He is the worst wizard. And it proved it in this one. He did fight. I'm not going to say he didn't. He did fight. He was spinning that useless wand it's useless. It just creates light. And throughout the whole movie, I'm yo, this dude's going to bring him down the fire, hell, brimstone. This dude did jack, bro. All he did was another light source. Then my man, the Witch King, came and shattered his stupid stick. And I said, this dude is garbage. Let's be honest, Nate. We did 3 films, and so far, Saruman and Gandalf are the worst wizards that we ever seen on screen. Doctor Strange does more cool shit, like in movies. And I guess because different wizards, right? Like, I guess he didn't learn spell books or something.
Merlin's probably.
Yeah, Merlin.
They don't do this. Yeah, this is not like a thing where the wizards do like spells and stuff. It's a different type of wizard, I guess.
Yeah, like he's bad. He's whack. But other than that, look, I agree with you. All the lead characters were great. They were fine. And my other favorite thing is with Gimli, he's like, those elephants count as one.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That was good too.
And I thought, to be honest with you, 3 arc with Gimli, very lovable character. I think he's very lovable. Like, I think if they killed him, I think I would have cried. Like, no, Gimli.
And Aragorn was great in this too. He had a really good arc, and I'm glad Liv Tyler showed back up because that girl was trying to steal him from her.
Like, you saw his aging towards the end, like, right? Like, he started to get older. You saw that. So, yeah, look, at the end of everything, 5 across the board here. Okay, now, main villain, you got everybody.
There's a million villains in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gave a 3 in the last movie. I'm pretty sure, or maybe.
Yeah, you did. You give it a yeah.
All right, I upped it 1 point. I'm still not going to give it a 5. I can't give this a 5 because when we're doing main villain and all you have is a bunch of villains, to me, unless it's like just the greatest of all time forces, I can't do a 5 because there's no one for me to like specifically point to and be like, wow, that villain's incredible. So I gave it a 4. I do think at least in this one, they're more formidable than in the Two Towers, personally. And I like the design of like the lead orc guy, that big like pink looking one. Like he was pretty cool where he's like leading the army when they're doing the battle at the end. And then you have that one guy, the Witch King Nazgul, whatever they're called. Like he just looked like Sauron pretty much, but he had a cool design. He had a dragon, but then he gets like even him, the dragon, the girl cuts the dragon's head off, and then she stabs him in the face, and then he's dead. He's like, you can't kill me. No man can kill me. And then she stabs him like, I'm not a man. Oh, so girls, so you just got to be a woman or a magic, I guess. I don't know. Certain things that didn't really they happen, and it's like, okay, I guess. I mean, I don't mind that she killed him. I'm just saying, I thought he was going to be more. They're like, no, and he's unkillable, and she killed him. So I was like, I guess he's not that unkillable. Also, there's some weird editing there that I hate, by the way. I'm just going to do it now. I was going to save it for for overall, but there's an edit where she stabs him, finds her dad. She's talking to her dad. He's dying. He's like, you got to let me go. And then she's sad. And then she like lays on him like she's crying. And then when Carl Urban shows up, she's like dead. She's like literally the next. I had to rewind it because I was like, wait a second, she didn't die. And then sure enough, it was just a weird edit. He comes by, she's like passed out, not next to the dad, like not on top of the dad anymore. It was weird. Anyway, I give him a 4. There's a lot of them. They're formidable, but they still lose. They still lose to a smaller army. Yeah, they had ghosts, which I'll get to that in a minute. But a 4. There's no one I could point to and be like, Sauron should be a 5 villain, but he's an eyeball. He's just an eyeball the whole time.
I agree. I gave it a 4. I don't think they were formidable at all. Like I can't even tell you a name of these characters except the Nazguls and the Witch King. That's the only dudes that I know. Like, again, the first time you see Sauron is the first movie, right? And then he slices his finger off and then it becomes the Eye of Thundera from Thundercats, like on top of the stupid tower. Right? Like, I was just like, okay, great. Like, he's just chilling up there the whole time. Like, I don't know. I just felt like the villains in this Lord of the Rings trilogy is kind of lackluster in terms of like, yeah, they're orcs and big giant things and whatever. But at the end of everything, they're not formidable. They don't do nothing to the main villains. They don't even hit them. I don't even think none of them got hit. Gimli, Legolas, or Aragorn. None of them got touched. They never even
almost die. They pretty much just dominate.
Except Aragorn when he fought the orc in the first movie.
Yeah, it was a tough
Remember the
fight.
guy who threw the shield?
Yeah. That was a tough
but other
fight,
than that, that's pretty much it. You're right. They never. There was no like at all like no.
And
no,
when Aragorn got knocked off the
death.
cliff in the second movie. But Gimli and Legolas are like invincible. Nothing bad happens to them ever.
Yeah, I agree. Like that, I guess that was like the only nitpick I had with the characters. It was like there was no like sense of danger to none of these lead characters. I was just like, oh, okay, great. They could just go into battle and you knew they were not going to be touched. Like Legolas didn't age one bit in 3 films at all, which I was like, okay, Gimli scene. But in terms of villains, yeah, I wasn't too crazy with them. I did like the battles and stuff. I thought they were fun and great and they looked amazing. Look, the designs of the orcs and everything will be hands down one of the best in film history. But honestly, after that, they're not. I can't give you names of these things because I don't care for them and they're just not, the Witch Kings. I thought all 9 of them were going to join the fight, like drop down and start killing hordes of men, but we didn't get that.
They needed a Darth Vader.
Kind of let down.
They needed like a one guy who's like,
yeah,
dang, that guy's awesome.
Which I thought it was the Witch King, because when he shattered Gandalf's stick, you're like, holy shit, like this dude's going to come off of that. And really, I mean, he could literally got off of that dragon and just walked around and killed everybody, but I don't even know why he didn't do that. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of a letdown, but I gave it a 4. Okay. Action scenes.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a 5. Especially we gave the last movie a 5, and this one has even more action than that one. So I agree with you. I love the design of the orcs, of the creatures, like the dragons. What I don't understand is why don't any of the human or like, you know what else? Gimli. Okay, Gimli is like a dwarf or something. Why aren't there any other ones helping in this fight? Just him. He's the only one. And the elves, they all stay out of it. They're like, you know what? You guys, you humans who are the weakest ones, pretty much, you guys go do it yourself. Bye-bye, good luck. You know, I think it's weird that you didn't have all the factions really come in and like fight them. And what I was wondering was, why is it that only the orcs have all the animals? They have wolves, they have elephants, they have things that look like rhinos. They have dragons. The humans got nothing. They don't got a freaking dog. They don't even have a dog that can go out. And I thought it was weird. I'm like, man, they really loaded up the villains with they had every advantage as far as like things. They had those big towers. They had giant guys that can push so I don't know. It seemed very weird to me that the humans did not have a single like animal or anything, because that would have been cool. Imagine like they got these big elephants and then the humans have like some big wolf dog thing that goes out and fight. But no.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It would have
yeah.
been awesome.
Like, yeah.
Anyway, the battle scenes are fantastic. Oh, and what I was leading to is I love the design of all those things. Like I like the way the big elephants look. I like the war scene. I do love the way they push those towers up to the thing and then they drop the door down and then they just run up on top of the wall. Like the battle scenes are great. One thing I'm mad at is that we did not get to see those ghost warrior guys fight. They run out, they go, "Ugh," they run on the boats, and then it cuts, and then it leaves, and then the boats show up empty. I would have liked to have seen them really, like, they fight a little bit on the land, but I really would have liked to see what happened on the boats. I thought that could have been a cool, like, set piece. It still has a lot of great set pieces. I still gave it a 5.
Action is a 5. I had some nitpicks with it. I agree with you. I don't get why. I mean, first of all, men should have lost with all the stuff that they were getting thrown at. It just didn't make sense for me either. That's why I was like, I thought Gandalf was going to do stuff because I was like, well, their advantage is they got a wizard, a white wizard, like, oh, but he didn't do shit. But you're right. They got thrown with war hogs or whatever the hell, the big elephant things. Yeah. And I felt like Peter Jackson threw that shit in there to go, the last film, let's throw out more army men against them. Like, because I was just like, holy hell, like it felt like AT-ATs from Star Wars, right? Like they threw out the big AT-ATs and against the horses. Yeah. I was just like, some things I was just like, whoa. But my little debate was, I did like the ghost, but I didn't like the ghost because, like I told my wife, this makes no damn sense, right? You go, I let you go, you fulfill your shit, and they disappear. But then they got another war to go to. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, why couldn't you just wait till the next war? And you would have been done. You would have been like, okay, brother, you fulfilled it. We're good. He's like, no, you promised after this. And I'm like, and now you got to go back to war to help Frodo and the eye and this thing. And I was just like, kind of whack. Because they were surrounded by all these people. If they had the ghost, it would have been more cool. But that was, But other than that, I kind of liked it. The CGI wonkiness of Legolas going up an elephant.
Yeah, that looked very
sliding off the thing.
What was this? 2002, 2003?
Yeah,
This looked like 2003 CGI, like a lot.
Yes, it did. It did. That part. Yeah, I was just like, and then he slid down the nose. He was like, whoo. I was just like, it was cool at that time, but I was like rewatching. I was like, that's not cool. Doesn't hold up no more. But yeah, there was great battle pieces. I love the scene that he goes in the cave. I liked it when he goes in to get the men, and the guy's trying to attack him, and he whipped out the sword, and he was like, oh, this dude does have the sword. I was like, that was actually a really cool scene to get the whole group of ghosts. But you're right. I was like, where's the dwarves at? Like, I know they all died in the mines of Moria. I guess that's the whole point, that they died, and Gimli's like the only one, which I was like, because remember, he was like my cousin, and then all of a sudden they were all dead in bones. But still, there had to be more.
It got to be more than Gimli. One.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're right. The elf thing was weird too. Like they came to the battle of Helm's Deep, they died, and I guess they ran away like chicken because they were like, nah, these dudes ain't winning this battle. We're out of this bitch.
And they seem to have all these magical things like this magical light that lights up the world and this sword that
The North Star.
But then they don't. But
Yeah.
why don't they just use all their magic crap and win all the fights?
Again, useless fucking
Now that I'm thinking about
stupid
it, it's making me
things.
mad.
Yeah, you got Kate Blanchett that can foresee the future and can do all this shit and come through your. Would she help Frodo get up? And I'm like, wait a minute, where were your ass when Gandalf was getting thrown all over the place by Saruman? Like, you couldn't just join in that fight? Like,
He's big. He can
again,
do it
the more
himself.
you think about it, the more you start going, this thing is starting to look dumb. But all right, we got 5 across the board there. Okay, storyline.
All right. And this is the same thing that happened to me with the Two Towers. I prefer the regular versions of these movies. I'm going to put my stamp on it now. I will never watch these extended versions again. If I want to watch the Lord of the Rings, actually Fellowship, I think the extended version's fine. These two,
That's the best one.
too much of nothing too much talking and walking for me, like too much. And the problem is I am not attached to this property the way some people are. If this was like, all right, let me tell you something. This is going to sound weird, but just bear with. If they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first movie, right? The first movie that I love. And they came out and was like, you know what? There's an extended edition that's 2.5 hours. Because that movie's only like 90 minutes. So let's make it equivalent.
Yeah.
2.5 hours. More stuff with the turtles. More. I would love that because I love those characters. I love the turtles. If I loved The Lord of the Rings the way those people love it, I'd probably love this extent. I'd be like, yes, give me more of this guy with the weird name and that girl with the weird name and give me more. But I don't. So when I'm getting all this extra stuff, to me, it's boring. It gets boring where I'm like, man, I had to watch this in 2 parts. I watched the first disc and then I went to sleep. And then the next day I watched the second one. And to be honest with you, this actually, if you watch each disc, like the 6 discs for the 3 movies, you could watch them as like a mini series. You could literally watch one day, watch the next part the next day, and it'll still make sense. It's basically like a mini series where each one is 2 hours. Each episode is 2 hours. So it does work being broken up that way. But I don't like to watch movies that way. I want to just sit one time, and I could not. I was just like, I'm tired. This is too long and it's too much. I gave it a 4. I think the storyline's good, but I'm scoring I think I would have gave this a 5 if we watched the regular one because there's a lot of great emotional moments. I love the ending. I mean, I think the ending goes on too long. Like when it should end, it just keeps having more parts. I don't care about old 100 million year old Bilbo and all. Like, it's like, come on. But anyway, I do like the overall ending, like with Aragorn coming to the throne and then Liv Tyler's character comes in. I forget her name. And like, I liked all that stuff. It's satisfying. And then it keeps going a little too much. So, but even still, just the whole thing, it's a little too much for me. So I gave it a 4 because it slows down the momentum a lot of time. And you're so separated from everybody for long stretches where it's like, oh, I don't even remember what those guys were doing because I haven't seen them in 45 minutes, you know? So I don't love the extended cuts. I'll be on record as saying it. I prefer the theatrical version, but I give this one a 4.
Well, you're not alone on that. I totally agree with you on the extended cuts. I think I enjoyed the only extended cut I did enjoy was the first movie. I think because it was actually guiding you through the story, like where we're going to go. And I thought the parts that they cut out didn't even affect, like I thought I was watching it. So, and I enjoyed it. Like I was like, oh, I put the second one in and I'm like, whoa, this is fun. And then I think Two Towers came in. The Talking Trees was boring as fuck. Frodo's storyline was boring as fuck. But then the Battles of Helm's Deep saved it. Then we get to Return of the King. I'm going to be honest with you, Nate. I saw this one night because we were preparing. So my wife was like, let's get it out the way. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. It's Saturday night. It's time to do it. So I put it on. And I'm not going to lie. I did enjoy it. I thought it's a great story watching it again. I'm not going to say it's boring or nothing. I thought it was great rewatching it. Like I said, the problem is once you start to watch it, you start to roll your eyes. Then you start to go, Jesus Christ, this character is really annoying. Frodo, annoying. His journey going through the Mordor, whining and bitching. And I didn't eat. Like, motherfucker, eat the damn cake. Like, you could have had elf bread. No, I don't want elf bread. Thirsty. Help me, Sam. Like, that was the whole stupid thing. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Me.
Like, carry me. Yeah. And it was just like, yo, this is like literally I was getting annoyed because I'm like, this is some useless shit. Sam showed you that he could hold the ring. He showed it. So you could have just let him hold it a little bit. But no, it was poisoning your mind. You gotta give it back. It's a billion. Oh, I was like, oh God, whatever, dude. Like, it is what it is. But the Smeagol thing, carrying them, going up the thing to the spider. The spider scene was cool. Way too long for me. It's a little bit too long. I said, oh my God. So like, I was like, oh, and then they got taken away from the orcs. And I said, oh my God, the orcs took this dude up a tower. Like, we're never ending this movie. So like, I started to just be like, oh, Jesus. Then I just felt like the story, like, you're right. It's like 3 stories. And the one that I really want to focus on a lot, it's the minimum part, while the other parts that we really annoyed at is the longest part of the fucking movie. And I'm like, oh, geez. So, and then oh my God, the ending was like 3 endings.
Yeah.
You had him going on the boat, Aragorn giving everybody the what's up, no one bows to midgets. And I was like, all right, cool.
You bow to no, so, you bow to no
yeah,
one.
you bow to nobody. Where Scott cried, he told us. So
I forgot he said he cried at the end of this.
Yeah, he cried when he said, my friends, you bow to no one. And everyone bowed to them. And I was just like, okay, cool. But you're right. With the length of the film, with multiple endings, useless lengths going between one end of the world to the other end. And didn't you, I don't know if you did. I'm going to end my point here, but didn't you feel like when they both, Sam and Frodo, put on the gear, the orc gear, and they walked down and they looked up and you're like, oh, they're right there. And the shit looked mad far away. You're like, God damn it. It's another 50 minutes into this movie. Like, didn't you feel that? Yeah. Like the minute the camera panned up and you saw more distance, I said, you gotta be kidding me. We're at 2 hours and a half right now.
Right before that, they're like, it's right there. We made it. And then they start walking with him. It's like, no, you didn't make it nowhere. You didn't make it nowhere. You still gotta go so far. So you're not even close.
Yeah. I felt that. Like, the minute I saw that view, I was like, shit. Like, we got another 40 minutes of this shit. And then they get into the orc battle thing, which was useless. Then I told my wife, I said, wait a minute. These dudes are among orcs. And these dudes smell like fresh flesh. Oh, humans. And these dudes don't even know that there's 2 fresh hobbits in amongst all of them. I said, you got it. I was like, damn.
Also, you know what's weird? Why is it that in the Lord of the Rings movies, if someone falls off a cliff, they're definitely alive? All of them. In the first movie, Gandalf falls off a cliff with the Balrog, comes back. Aragorn falls off a cliff with the wolf dog guy, comes back. Smeagol, thrown off a cliff in the dark into freaking hell, shows back up.
That's true.
Yeah. If you're watching these movies at home, spoiler alert, if you see someone go off a cliff, they're alive. They're not.
Sam? He slipped off the thing and hit the rock like mad hard.
They all live.
Yeah.
If they fall off a cliff, they're not dead.
You're right. Look, I give it a 4. I agree with you. I think it's a great storyline, but it's nowhere perfect. Okay, overall.
Okay, I had to consider a lot of things with my overall score. I am going to give it a 5. Because I do believe that it is a perfect conclusion to this storyline that they told. I do think it is a great film. I really do. I think it well deserved those Academy Awards. Like, the production design is great. The costumes, the battles, like the acting is really good in this movie. The cinematography is great. The music is great. And while those things exist in all 3 movies, I do feel like this one really felt like a big epic conclusion. So I gave it a 5, but I will say, I think the theatrical cuts are better because of the pacing of them. I think that really what they cut makes sense. So like what Scott was saying was there's a lot of stuff that's in the books that's not in the movies. So they already had to make cuts. Then you have the movies and then they made more cuts to streamline them. And I am the type of give me the most important thing. I don't need every single detail on earth. So I would give the theatrical versions the edge, but I'm still going to give this a 5 because I do think it fully accomplishes everything it set out to do. And it is a spectacle. It's a spectacle of a movie. It looks great. It sounds great. This one, I think, was more entertaining than The Two Towers, personally, like on the whole. So yeah, I actually like this one better. At least the extended cuts, I think this one's better, even though it's way too long. So I still gave it a 5.
Yeah, after setting done, you said everything there. I agree. I gave it a 5. I think it's a perfect send-off for the characters. It's the best way to go. And I think my wife said it the best. She was like, what she would have done if she was writing it was instead of having those 3 crazy endings, she was like, they should have just have it there where all the characters are there and Frodo and all of them is like, I gotta go. Like, I can't do this no more. Like, the ring killed, in front of Legolas, Aragorn, Gimli. So at least all of them can say goodbye to these characters instead of having like this secret meaning to go on this boat that honestly, I don't even know where it goes. Like, they never even explained that.
To take old Bilbo. I was cool. Like, they should have ended it with them showing back up in the Shire. Like, they ride into the Shire and they go and the camera just goes away.
Fades out. Yeah.
They made it home. They made it back home. That's, you want to see them make it home. Other than that, everything after that.
Yeah. Yeah, or him, signing his name on the book and close it. The end. And, the adventures of Samwise Gamgee and Frodo Baggins. But everything was well. I think the soundtrack was great. I thought the fighting, the battles were all good, but I can't take these things. I think you're right. The theatrical cut is way better than this movie. Is it rewatchable? I will say I won't see it yet, but I'm going to give it a few more years and see the theatrical cuts and see if it actually works out for me more than the extended. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to rewatch this anytime soon.
I think the extended cuts are for a very specific audience. And I think the theatrical cuts are for everybody, personally.
Yeah.
Unless you're super invested and love the Lord of the Rings, your favorite thing, and you read the book and you know it, but then the extended's probably for you. And if you're like us, where it's like, I ain't read a page of that book. I like these movies, but I don't watch them all the time. I think the theatrical versions are better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. All right, Nate, what's your total points?
I have a 23 out of a 25. So even with our negatives, the movies are so dang good that even with our negatives, it still gets a high score.
Yeah, I got a 23 out of a 25 also as my final score. Now, I would like to ask you this before we wrap it up. Does this consider to be one of the greatest trilogies?
I would say absolutely 100%.
Because we have one final spot on our trilogies, Mount Rushmore. Do we pin it until we finish the year out?
So who do we got on there right now? We got Caesar, we got
Star Trek,
the new one,
and Star Wars.
I think this is a better trilogy. I say, here's what I think we should do. I think we should put it up there, and then if something else happens, we blow up the face of one of them and chisel a new face.
Like that. That. We
just
blow
dynamite
it off.
and we make a new one. I will 100%
right.
Because I do think this is a better trilogy than Star Trek, and I love those Star Trek movies. These are better films. Are they way better than the Star Wars? I don't know. That's a debate for a different day because some people will definitely take Star Wars over this. And for the action movie guys, Planet of the Apes stays up for now. Absolutely stays up. Yeah. But Star Trek and Planet of the Apes, they're the ones that will most likely be up for explosions if something else happens. But I say we should put this up. Let's go with big giant head of Gimli because we love Gimli.
All right, so we put a big giant head of Gimli drinking ale.
He's going on Mount Rushmore for now.
Okay, so there you have it. So they are on the Mount Rushmore of the AMG podcast. All right, Nate, what is coming up next on the podcast?
Guess what? We got Mel Gibson month continuing. So our next episode is going to be The Patriot, which, by the way, the minute I started watching this, I realized I've never seen this movie. So this was the first time watch for me. So we're going to be doing The Patriot, and then we're starting a new trilogy. So right away, we're going to see if there's any competition to those 4 heads that are up there. We're going to be starting the Hobbit trilogy. I saw all of these once, and it was at the theater. And that was it. I have not rewatched any of them. Now, we had a little discussion about this. I'm not watching the extended version. I've never seen them, but I can't subject myself to 4-hour movies for like a while. I think I need a break. And the regular ones are already almost 3 hours. So if you want, Alex, if you want to tackle the extendeds and I'll do the theatricals just for comparison's sake, or we both watch the theatrical.
Well, the problem is, this is what I was saying. I would have did it for the podcast. The problem is I never seen none of them. So I don't know what's extended. So I'm gonna do the theatrical cuts. And if I enjoy the movies, I will do a longer. And then if we do, I'll maybe do a 5-minute segment on another podcast talking about it. But if I enjoy it,
if you love it, then you could be like, you know what? I'll do a special podcast of just the extended versions and what I like.
Yeah, and then we'll come back and then me and you can sit down and we do the pros and cons of both.
But since you've never seen it, I don't think you should ever start with an extended cut if you've never seen the movie. No. So we're gonna do the theatricals, so everyone at home knows. So that's The Hobbit, which the movies are The Desolation of Smaug. I know that's the second one. And The Battle of the 5 Armies is the third one. So we're going to be tackling those and see young Bilbo and see if he gets on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay. All right. I'm actually really want to see these because I never seen them and I own the 4K. So let's see if they're fun. Let's see if they hold up like the other ones, but we'll see. The Patriot I've never seen, so that's gonna be fun sitting down and talking about. So double first time. So again, guys, you guys want to follow us in our social media accounts? Please follow Nate over on Instagram at Nateflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friends called Nateflix Movie Reviews every other Monday on Nateflix Instagram page. He goes live with his friends at 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, every other Mondays. Anything AMG podcast, you can follow us on Geeks and Flicks Instagram page, or you can visit our AMG podcast YouTube channel page, which is youtube.com/@actionmovieguys. We have our podcast there. Every time I release it, it goes up there and you guys can listen to us on the actual YouTube channel or YouTube Music, or you can check out our official website, www.geeksandflix.com. Other than that, I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Nateflix Reviews.
Be awesome to each other and geek out.